Excuse me. Hema is a nutrition coach and yoga trainer by profession. She is an engineer by education and quit her 7 year stint in corporate to pursue her passion for health and wellness. She is certified in nutrition coaching and has helped over 100 people reach their fitness goals. She is also a hormonal expert and works with women with hormonal imbalances like PCOS, hypothyroidism, etc., manage their symptoms. She has also helped people improve their gut health, sleep, skin, and hair health through a holistic approach to nutrition. I'm really glad and honored to be having you today, Hema. Over to you.
Thank you, Harini. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on nutrition basics and how the right nutrition can help your yoga practice. We'll be going through the basics of nutrition, which you already probably know, but we will just go through the details about all of them. And we'll see why certain things are important, certain components of your food are important, certain vitamins are important. And I hope you get to gain something from it. Yeah, hope everyone's able to see my screen.
Yes, Hema.
Yeah. Okay, so basically we'll cover these topics today, a little bit about Healthy with Hema, which is a project of mine, and nutrition basics, importance of protein in the diet. Then we'll move on to the importance of vitamins, particularly vitamin B12 and importance of vitamin D in our diet. And at the end, we'll talk about how better nutrition can actually help your yoga practice. A little bit about myself and Healthy with Hema to begin with. As Harini introduced, I'm Hema, and I have been a runner from the age of 22. So last 7 years, I've been a runner, and I started my yoga practice very seriously from the last 3 to 4 years, and completed my yoga training with Miracula in 2021, and also certified as a nutrition coach in 2021. And I started Healthy with Hema as a personal project last year to get back to my fitter self after I lost track of my fitness, my health because of COVID lockdowns, and a lot of stressful eating because of work from home. And then I realized that in this era of social media, there's so much of misinformation around us that it's very hard to separate the truth from the myths. And I realized that that is something that I want to educate people about what exactly is the right facts about nutrition versus what is just a myth and what is just misinformation being spread. And that is where Healthy with Hema began, as a small company that I started, and to help people find the right nutrition by building small actionable goals. Small goals is what leads us to achieve any goal in our life, be it business goals or financial goals, relationship goals, and fitness is no less. We don't have to always see a picture of, oh, I want to lose 20 kgs and just see that. We can always reach that goal by breaking them down into smaller goals of, okay, first day, let me just concentrate on eating one meal of mine as a healthy meal, and maybe I'll just walk for 10 minutes tomorrow. So this is what I focus on, that is building small actionable goals. And that's how people are able to reach their fitness goals through Healthy with Hema. So in basics of nutrition, which is the first component of our talk today, we'll be covering these 4 topics. What are macronutrients? What is a calorie? What is TDEE stands for? TDEE actually means total daily energy expenditure, which we'll cover in the next few slides. And what is a calorie deficit? This word must be quite common if you're on social media and you are reading a lot about how to lose weight and how to be fit, etc. So we'll cover in detail on what it actually means and how it comes into picture in our daily lives. So what are macros? That's a very famous word, macros. Actually, macros stands for macronutrients. Where do we hear about macros? You might have read, oh, you have to measure your macros, you have to balance your macros, you have to eat a certain macros. So what is that macros? It's nothing but your macronutrients. When in school, if you remember, or if your kids, textbook, if you've taught them recently, you might have heard about balanced diet, and that is where we talk about a balanced amount of macronutrients and micronutrients. So this is the macronutrients that actually just has got this cool word called macros now. So your body needs them in large amounts. Macro means big. So nutrients, macros, you need a large amount of these nutrients for your body to sustain and function properly. What are the three macronutrients that we have? Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So next is the most important question. Why do you need macros? Anybody in the chat window want to just, without seeing a slide, talk about why do we need macros? Oh, 1 second. Just checking. Okay, for energy. Yes, Rithi. You need macros for energy and to maintain your body's structure and systems, and for your healthy functioning of your brain and endocrine system. What is endocrine system? Endocrine system is a system that actually is responsible for all the hormones that are released in our body. Estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, these are the commonly known hormones. Thyroid, another hormone that is very commonly known, adrenaline. So all these are hormones, and for these to work properly, your endocrine system needs to be healthy, needs to be functioning properly, and you need macros for those things. So the first macro that we'll cover is carbs or carbohydrates, very sweetly known as carbs, and hated by a lot of people, unfortunately. They're the body's primary fuel. Even for this action that you're doing right now, sitting and listening to me, or me sitting and talking to you, you need carbs. Because carbs are the ones that your body uses to generate energy for each and every cell in your body. Your muscular cells or any other cells. I mean, there's so many different types of cells that we have. Each cell needs energy, and this energy actually comes from carbohydrates from your food. And they also provide energy for our brain, right? Even just if you say, oh, I'm not moving throughout the day, I don't need carbs. No, your brain requires 45% of the carbohydrates or the energy that your body needs actually is required by your brain, right? So carbs are required for the basic functioning of your body. So 45 to 65% of calories per day should come from carbohydrates, right? So it's almost a major chunk of your everyday diet, that is 65%. And depending on your activity levels, which we will cover later, to 45% of your meals should be comprised of carbohydrates. And what are the sources of carbohydrates that we know of, right? All your grains are carbohydrates. Your sweet potato, your potato, rice, wheat, banana, most of your fruits are carbohydrates, pasta, oats. The choices are many. So what are healthy carbs and what are unhealthy carbs? Any answers in the chat window? Can you name some unhealthy carbs? Yes, maida, starch is not unhealthy, but yeah, maida and refined sugar again is not unhealthy in moderate amounts. It's just sugar. It's just carbs at its purest form. Maida is definitely considered unhealthy because it's so processed, it's highly processed, and eating that in a high quantity is just going to not give you the nutrients and just the calories. Fried potatoes, yes, potatoes definitely are the good carbs because They provide you energy. They are a starchy vegetable, but fried, yes, let's come to that later, and why fried becomes unhealthy for us, right? So yeah, so let's move on to fats. What are fats, right? So fats are a source of energy for us again, and they are actually important, very important, and we tend to think of them as bad right now, because oh, fat is bad, fat is what is causing weight gain. So but fats are so important, especially to women, because fats are essential for your hormonal function. For women, a balance in their hormonal system is so important that if you actually start cutting out fats from your diet, you will start to feel a lot of hormonal imbalances. You might miss your periods might become irregular, you might not even ovulate if you're trying for a baby, or you're trying for pregnancy. Then there's so many problems with avoiding fat. But what is the kind of fat that we should avoid, and what are the kind of fats that we should eat? As you can see in the picture, you see some good source of fats: dry fruits and your avocado, your coconut, your chia seeds, and your hazelnuts. There's so many of these, peanuts. All these are good source of fats which needs to be consumed in a limited quantity, because they actually contain a lot of calories. Again, we'll talk about this as we proceed. So what is the function of fats, or what is the importance of fats? Fats are needed to actually absorb certain vitamins in your body. We have heard about water soluble vitamins, fat soluble vitamins. Again, this is all high school biology that I'm talking about. So vitamin A, D, E, and K, these are fat soluble vitamins. That means they are like oil, right? They only mix in something that's oily type of a solution. They don't mix in water. So they need fat. They need your body to give them fat so that they can be absorbed through your intestines, through your liver. So if you don't eat enough essential fatty acids, then there is no way these vitamins are absorbed. So you will start to see vitamin A, D, E, and K deficiency. And why? Another reason why fat is needed is it's there to insulate your body. So fat is like, that's something that gives us warmth for our cells, even for our neurons. There is since we transfer electric current, there is actually a insulation in our wires, right? How we see copper wires have insulation. Similarly, our neurons actually have this sheath that is made of fat. So if you keep having lower and lower fat and your body doesn't get enough fat, your even nervous system does not work well. So, but what kind of fats that needs to be eaten? It should come from a healthy source. We need to avoid trans fat completely. What are trans fat? Trans fats are mostly, if you take any fried item from the shop, you buy a sort of chips or any sort of packaged food, first thing you need to do is reverse, just flip your packet, see the ingredient list, see if it has trans fat. Most of them, if they say 0% trans fat added, that means that yes, this is actually it's okay to eat this. Even chips, for example, if fried in a particular kind of oil, then there's a chance that they might have trans fat. So you need to make sure that there is no trans fat in the package of food that you buy, right? So it's always important to read your ingredient list. So how much fat should we consume in a day? Right? And that's around 20 to 35% of your daily calories should come from fat, actually. So that feels like a lot, but it's not. It is important for you to eat that much fat. There is again a lot of differentiation between saturated fat, unsaturated fat, ghee, coconut oil. All these have a lot of saturated fat, while vegetable oil is all unsaturated fat. LDL, there are a lot of things that come into picture there, which is not essential right now, but remember to eat more unsaturated fat and reduce your quantity of saturated fat, which includes ghee and coconut oil, because there are studies that have shown that that could cause artery blockages. So there needs to be a fine balance between what kind of fat you're eating and how much you're eating, and overall how your meals are balanced. Moving on to protein. Protein is something we'll just cover on the basics of protein right now, but we'll move on to it as a separate topic to talk about why protein is important. So what is protein and why do you require protein? Protein is another macronutrient, right? And it is so important because it is responsible for all your body's functions. Hormonal system, your metabolic system, your transport system. We already talked about hormonal system, how important hormonal system is, especially for women. Metabolic system is your rate at which your body burns energy, right? Burns the food that you eat, the amount of food that you eat, how it converts it into energy. And also when you run, when you do yoga or any exercise, how much it can convert the food sources to energy, and how efficiently can the muscles use it. All that needs protein. Transport system is your blood flow. Even that requires your protein, because proteins are then it's split into various amino acids which have separate functioning in each system here. Enzyme synthesis. What is enzyme synthesis? Just a quick brief about, so that you understand what is enzyme synthesis. Liver, your intestine, even your saliva has enzymes. What are enzymes doing? Enzymes actually help create chemical reactions in your body. I mean, our body is completely made up of chemicals. So we have continuous chemical reactions happening. Enzymes are needed to trigger a particular chemical reaction. For example, say you take a piece of a spoon of rice and you start chewing. So that's completely carbs, right? So what happens there? It actually starts breaking down in your mouth only. That's why they say chew your food properly, because the starch in your rice starts breaking down through an enzyme called amylase in your mouth itself. So these are enzymes that actually help all chemical reactions happen well, right? And then tissue structure. So we have learned in school again, cells are made up of tissues, right? So tissues are made up of cells. Each cell come together to form a tissue, so that those tissues have certain special functions to take care of. So even the structures, here we mostly, when we talk about protein, we only think about muscle tissue. To even bear our weight, muscles are needed and muscle tissues are needed. So your protein is the one that actually helps in maintaining, repairing that particular tissue structure. And the amount of protein you need, how much do you need, is actually dependent on two things: your weight and the kind of exercise you get on a daily basis, right? Because for a person who's sedentary, that is a person who does not do a lot of workout and just has a very inactive lifestyle, that person might not need as much protein as someone who does intense workouts, like an athlete, or even people who practice yoga every day, 1 hour every day. So you are working out. If you do yoga every single day, where it is an intense practice, every 1 hour, every day for an hour, or even if you attend 2 asana intensive workshops, that's 3 hours of workout that you're doing in a week. So all these actually contribute to increasing the amount of protein you need. So that's why it varies between as less as 10% to 35% of your daily calories should come from protein. 10% being the minimum side for people who lead a very sedentary lifestyle. And as someone who just sits, does their work, or just sits on the sofa and watches TV, whatever is a very inactive lifestyle. From there to someone who works out more than 7 to 8 hours per week, their protein requirement changes. One thing I would like to cover, maybe we can do it when you come to the importance of protein, is how India is a very protein deficient country. We actually have protein deficiency because Indian food is very carb based. We'll talk about this when we come to the protein section, and then we talk about the sources of protein you can eat, the animal sources, the plant sources, and especially on a plant-based diet, what kind of protein that you can eat, right? So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Yeah, so it is very important to include all macros in our daily lives. Why? Because if you don't have enough protein, it will lead to muscle loss. And if you don't have enough carbs, you will start feeling very sluggish and low in energy. Because like I said, even your brain, so 45% of the energy that you eat every day in terms of your food goes for your brain's functioning, right? Even to talk, to listen, to see something, basic brain function, to breathe, to take another step, right? All this is your brain's involvement. So you will start feeling low in energy, you'll start feeling very sluggish, lethargic. So you need to have enough carbs in your diet. Diet too low in fats can lead to imbalances in your hormone levels, which we covered here, which is way too important for women to neglect. So next time you skip your ghee and say no, remember fats are healthy. That applies to almonds or any kind of healthy fats that we talked about. So yes, the most basic question, but something that needs to be defined. What is a calorie? We've studied in school a long time ago, and we sort of see it everywhere. It's like, oh, cut your calories, and then this is high calorie, this is low calorie, this is 0 calorie, or we've heard so many words about calorie. Calorie has become like a bad word in this era of social media, and this is crazy, in this crazy world of trying to lose weight. Everyone wants to lose weight, and they hear this word calorie thrown around everywhere, saying cut your calories today, or eat as eat as less calories as possible. So we need to know what calories are for that, right? To understand what it is and why it is important. So a calorie, the most like a boring definition can be, a calorie is the most common unit to measure the energy that food provides and the one that you burn when your body does any work. So it's like a unit of measurement. A very technical definition is, how do you measure what is 1 kilocal or 1 kilocalorie? Is if you take 1 kg of water and try to increase its temperature to 1 degree Celsius, how much energy you need, that is 1 kilocalorie, right? But we like to call it very short term as calories, because kilocalorie is like 2 mouthful. So calories is nothing but kcal. You will see this again in your ingredient, any food that you buy, mostly packaged foods. You flip at the back, it will say per serving these many calories, right? It is actually kilocal. It will have a small k and a capital CAL. That is what it is, how we measure how much energy does this particular unit of food provide, and how much energy will I get if I eat 1 spoon of this, or one serving 30 gram of this, 40 gram of this, so on and so forth. So you intake calories when you consume food, right? So calories are provided by everything you eat. Your macronutrients, your micronutrients. Micronutrients are all your vitamins and minerals. Everything has calories. So when something says 0 calorie, it is not exactly 0 calorie. It has 1 or 2 calories, but there are some specifications or guidelines when you can say 0 calorie if it's just 1 calorie per serving. So, but yeah, so anything and everything except for water. Water is one thing which has 0 calories. So you can, that's why we drink 2 liters, 3 liters of water every day. So except for water, everything and anything that you eat on this earth, everything that can be eaten, not inorganic material, has calories in it. Obviously they differ in the amount of calories they give. Like a pakoda versus a fruit has obviously different calories, but they all are giving you energy, giving energy to your body so that it can function. Yeah, so we talked about macronutrients. Let's now see how much calories does each macronutrient provide you. Carbohydrates gives you 4 calories per gram. So 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. 1 gram of protein is also 4 calories. Fat actually gives you the most calories. So that's why fat consumption needs to be lower, needs to be monitored better, because 1 gram of fat gives you 9 calories of energy, and alcohol gives you 7 calories of 1 gram of alcohol gives you 7 calories of energy. So all, because alcohol is predominantly carbs, but it has been processed, so it still has some extra things. That's why 7 calories, and we measure it separately. And stored fat from carbohydrate source. So whatever fat stores that you have in your body when you are working out, or when you're starving, say you fast for 2 days, right? Where is your energy coming from? The energy actually is coming from the fat stored in your body. And that 1 gram of fat burned will give you 3.27 calories of energy. Yeah, so, okay, let's move on. Energy intake, this is important. This is because it is important to understand calorie deficit, which is the last topic of our first section. What is energy intake? How is it measured? And how can you measure it in your normal life? So anything that you eat, like I said, anything you eat in this world, on this earth, except for water, has calories in it. So in a 24-hour period, right from the time, because obviously we don't eat at night unless we're snacking at night, if you are a midnight snacker, anything from the time you wake up in the morning till you sleep, the 24-hour period, whatever you eat is actually used to measure the energy intake for the day. You can calculate your energy intake pretty easily because there are apps these days, and I'm not sure if many of you have heard of it, but MyFitnessPal is a very common app which you can use, which has a lot of Indian dishes that you can actually use to see how much you're eating in a day. Because what happens is, we are not able to, obviously we think we're not eating that much, we're not eating, most of my clients come with this, that I don't eat anything, I only eat very less. But actually when you start measuring it in the app, then we realize that no, you have a different notion about what you're eating versus what you actually are eating. So for you to actually correctly measure, okay, what am I eating throughout the day? Why am I putting on weight? Or why am I not losing weight? Or why am I not gaining weight? If that is your intention, then you can start tracking. Actually, MyFitnessPal gives you a breakdown of how much protein you're eating, fat you're eating, carbohydrates you're eating. And if it is sufficient, then you can see, oh, am I eating less protein than I should be eating for my activity levels? So these kind of things can be tracked on apps like Chronometer, MyFitnessPal. I think Healthify Me also has it, but I'm not sure if they let you do it without taking a program. So that's your energy intake or calories in. It's like a bank transaction. Whatever money you put in your savings, that's your energy intake. So sorry. Yeah, energy expenditure. This is the amount you withdraw from the bank account, right? So how do you expend energy in your body? So many ways. We have 4 ways through which we can actually spend the energy that we eat. There are 4 components. One is called basal metabolic rate. That is something that you just, even if you sit on the sofa throughout the day watching TV and not doing anything, just eat and sit and sleep, you will still burn an X amount of calories. And that is your basal metabolic rate. What is it dependent on? It is dependent on your lifestyle, your genes, and your current body weight, your muscle percentage, so many factors. But this is something without doing anything. Right now, we're just sitting, we're just talking. Okay, I'm talking, so I might be burning more energy, but you're just listening to me and you're still burning energy. In a sense that you're not doing any work, but you're still burning energy. That's your basal metabolic rate, or also called BMR. Next comes your thermic effect of food. Imagine how amazing our body is. We eat and we again spend some money, spend some energy to actually digest the food that we are eating. This is like your bank transaction, right? You go to the bank and say that, look, I need to deposit this money. But this is not your home branch. They're like, no, ma'am, you have to give me 20 rupees processing fee. Then only I'll take your 1,000 rupees. So in that 1,000 rupees, you're only depositing 980 rupees because the 20 rupees goes for processing fee. So that's your thermic effect of food. And next comes your physical activity. This is totally in your control. Depending on how much exercise you do every day, your physical activity, actual structured workout, it will change the amount of energy that you burn. And the last and the most important, but unfortunately most neglected part is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or called NEAT. You might have seen this in many fitness blogs, health blogs, or even on social media. NEAT is very much neglected. What is NEAT? So what happens sometimes is, I remember when I wasn't still aware of all these things, I would go run 10 kilometers in the morning. And then the whole day I wouldn't move from my sofa. I would be like, okay, I'm tired. I've finished my 10 kilometers, which is like some 12K, 15,000 steps. I am done for the day. But the mistake, and then I could say that there's no improvement. No matter how much I'm running, I'm not losing weight, or I'm not seeing any great changes in my body. Or that is because throughout the day, moving is also important. Studies have shown that more than physical activity, if you move throughout the day a lot, you get up and then you walk around and you reach at 10,000 steps, apart from your physical activity, not just for losing weight, but this is great for your heart health and for all your metabolic diseases like diabetes, BP. To avoid all these things, it's very, very beneficial. And this is where people who have a desk job face a lot of issues, because they are sitting for such a long time, they even forget to get up. Even when I was working, I would sit for 3-4 hours continuously, because I would be like one meeting after the other, or there is some particular bug to solve, and I wouldn't just get up. This is so bad for you in two ways. One is you have to increase your NEAT, so you're not burning enough calories, you're sitting for a long time, and then also the n number of problems it brings through tight hips, tight hamstrings, which will cause their own set of issues like lower back pain and so on. And obviously you will start feeling like, okay, you're getting heavier around your stomach because you're sitting for so long, your posture is bad. So this is where NEAT needs to be increased. So even if you are someone who's a yoga practitioner or is a fitness expert, and you are doing workout, you're working out for 2 hours, 3 hours in a day, make sure you move throughout the day. That's not where your exercise ends, because your energy expenditure depends on all these 4 activities. Moving on. So this is a nice little formula that actually is available on my website, which link I will share later, where you can calculate, you can put your age, your weight, and what is your current weight, and what is the amount of weight that you want to lose. How do you want to lose it? Do you want to be very strict and with yourself and lose it immediately, or you want to have a relaxed weight loss journey? Then it will actually throw you a TDE for yourself, saying how much energy do you have to spend every day to actually lose that weight. So it's a small tool that I've added in my website, which you can check out. So like you can see in the figure at the side, right side, your BMR is out of your control, right? 60%. Some people constantly have this complaint. No, it's not a complaint, but it's a reason that they give for being the way they are, is for them not losing weight, or for them being overweight, is that it's in the family. Yes, 60% of your weight, if you call it issues, if you think it is an issue, it is an issue, because being overweight is a problem. It has certain metabolic it opens doors to certain metabolic diseases, but it's 60% out of your control. But the rest 40% is completely in your control, on what kind of food you eat, how much exercise you get, how much you move throughout the day. So that 40% is something that you can take charge of, you can change to actually reach that fitness goal of yours. One second. So what is a calorie deficit? From that time, you're like, okay, Hema keeps talking about calorie deficit, but what exactly it is? Deficit means lacking. So what if you can see this nice balance chart here? If your food intake is lesser, or let's say talk about it the other way, if your energy expenditure is that the amount of energy you're burning throughout the day is higher than the amount of food you take, that's the scale, right? One is lower, one is heavier. So if you burn more energy throughout the day than the amount of food you're eating, then you will see a weight loss. But if you take more food than the amount of energy that you are burning, you will gain weight. But if you want to maintain your weight, sometimes we see this, right? My weight is 65 kgs throughout, like for 6 months. That means you are actually in a nice balanced life of yours. You're eating X amount of calories and burning that many calories. So there's no change in weight, no increase, no decrease. So you're in a balance, your ideal weight, whatever you have, you're maintaining that. Even if it's not ideal, but you kind of, your activities are matching up to your energy that you're expensing. But if you keep gaining weight and you see, and you're worried where the problem is, there are two things to see. One is, am I eating more or am I moving less? Maybe there is one very, I remember when I first joined gym, and my relatives were like, hey, gym bitre, I don't know how many of your Kannadigas here, but if you leave gym, the park birthya, or you'll gain weight as soon as you leave gym. Yes, there is a reason behind it, right? Because once you leave gym, you are burning less calories, but you have started eating more because you were um, you know, burning more energy, then burning more calories, you needed more energy, but you left the gym and you're still eating the same amount of food, you will start gaining weight. This is just the thermodynamics of it. It's a very simple, formula. Always remember, before you think, oh, I'm not losing weight at all, god, I think it's my genes, or I think something's wrong with me, my metabolism is slow. Before that, just think about it. Is it that, or is it just that you're eating more than you're burning? Right? So that balance is the truth, and there is no shortcut to weight loss. When people lose 10 kgs and when they promise you this 10 kgs loss in 4 weeks, what they're doing is they're putting you through this extreme calorie deficit, where you're eating just soups and salads, and that's it. And that's where you see so much weight loss, and that you can't sustain. You'll be angry all the time. You if you are married, and your husband says something, or your wife says something, you're like, hey, don't talk to me, I'm not eating, and I'm always hungry. Hangry, that comes, hunger plus anger. You're always angry because you cannot sustain on that amount of food. You'll not be able to concentrate, you're always sleepy, you will not be able to function at work, but you are losing weight. But at what cost? So that's the high calorie deficit. You can always have a very low calorie deficit also, but have some patience, and you will see a weight loss happening through some, maybe a longer period of time, but you're still enjoying your meals, you're enjoying your life, and still losing weight. So this is what calorie deficit is. So let's talk about the most important, I believe this is the most important component in our webinar today, importance of protein in our diet. Like I said before, India is a protein deficient country because most of our food is very carb based. You can think about things like when we eat, especially South Indians, we eat rice, one tili saru or sambar, one palya, right? This is our usual meals. And that unfortunately has very low levels of protein. Even dosa, idli, we call it high in protein, but all your dals and lentils, especially for vegetarians here, all your dal, lentils, are more of a carb source, carbohydrate source, and a protein source. So this is where India becomes a protein deficient country. But I'm not saying, oh, you need to have animal based food only to get your protein content. Not necessarily. There are so many plant based options or a vegetarian based option. There is, you have paneer, and then there's low fat paneer also these days. You have tofu, you have chickpeas. There's so many options. You have rajma, you have milk, you have curd, you have Greek yogurt, which is more in protein than your regular yogurt. So many options to actually meet your protein requirement. So it depends on how you plate your meals, how you balance your meals throughout the day. So why is protein important to us? It increases your muscle mass and strength. It's good for your bones, right? So you can read here, right? It reduces appetite and hunger levels. So let's just spend some little time just to cover on each of these topics. It increases your muscle mass and strength. Again, a lot of women think if they eat too much protein or do a lot of strength training, they'll become bulky, like those weight training people or bodybuilders. Women cannot gain that much muscle because we don't have enough testosterone to do that. But we need muscle mass. All of us need muscle mass to be strong. If you want to go lift a cylinder tomorrow, a filled cylinder, and not rely on the cylinder wala, then you need muscle mass. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it, right? That is what gives you strength. Or even if you want to stay in Dandasana, for those yoga practitioners here, for a longer time, or Virabhadrasana too, for a longer time, then you need that muscle mass. Your leg, your thighs needs to have more muscle. Your core needs to be strong. For that, you need that muscle mass in you. And it's good for your bones, right? So it actually, muscles strengthen, so does your bones, right? That's how you will be able to keep your skeletal, your posture better. You will be less injured, and you will age better because your bones are strong, your muscle is still strong. And the most important thing about protein, which comes into picture if you are someone who's looking for weight loss, is to reduce appetite and hunger levels. How does it do that? Remember we talked about TDE, and there was one thing called thermic effect of food, right? That is, whatever we eat, for it to be digested, we need energy. Protein studies have shown that protein actually requires the most energy to be burnt. So if your meals actually is a high protein meal versus, say, you just have some rice and some tili saru versus some rice and some paneer curry, you will actually be more full and not feel hungry till the next meal than just rice and sambar. Why? Because protein is known to suppress your hunger hormone. There is a hunger hormone. It's like a monster. It is the one that actually says, oh, you're hungry all the time, which is not really your body's hunger only. It is also your mental thing. That's when stress actually increases, your ghrelin or your hunger hormone also goes crazily up, and it keeps saying you're hungry, even though your body might not be needing food. So it actually suppresses that hormone. So it reduces your appetite, it reduces your hunger level, so that you eat lesser, as much as your body needs. So that's how it boosts your metabolism. Another way it boosts your metabolism is the first point, muscle mass. The more muscle you have, the more energy you burn throughout the day doing nothing. So the more protein you eat, the more muscle you get. The more muscle you have, the more your metabolism is. So next time you see someone complaining, oh, my metabolism is low, no matter what I eat, I put on weight, maybe ask them to increase the protein intake in their meals. So another main thing that we forget weight loss and all, it actually helps your body repair itself after injury. Say you have the surgery, or you fell down, or something happened, you were injured, and or you fell ill, your body requires more protein than usual to actually repair your body, your muscles, your cells, everything to repair itself. It needs protein. And the last part is to age gracefully. Some people age so gracefully. Some people are like, at 30 they have knee pain, at 30 they feel like they have back pain, they have so many issues. It again depends on your protein consumption. apart from your exercise. Obviously, exercise plays a great role, but it's actually your protein consumption also. Because again, you have to travel to the first 2 points. How do you stay fit as you age? If you have strong bones and a good muscle mass, you will stay fit as you age. You will not, the risk of falling down is less. You will not get those aches and pains that you get as you age. At least it's reduced, right? It is slow. I'll take questions at the end, and maybe I will suggest you protein supplements, Alpa. And so the main question, the question of the hour, how much protein do you need? How do you calculate it? Very, very easy to calculate. Take your weight in kgs if you know your weight, and you need to consume around 0.8 gram to 1.6 gram per body weight in kg protein. Now, who decides 0.8 to 1.6? What should I consume? Where should my to be safe? If you're just a person with a very little activity, that means you go for a walk, 20 minutes of walk, 30 minutes of walk every day, you need to eat 1 gram of protein per body weight in kg. So if you're a 70 kg, a person who weighs 70 kg, you need to eat 70 grams of protein throughout the day, right? So that's the simple formula here. But for someone who actually practices yoga, say every day, 5 days a week, so it's 5 hours of activity, they might have to consume 1.1 into 1.2 gram per body weight in kg. So that comes up to 77 gram to 84 gram per day. You can split it into 3 meals, 4 meals, whatever makes sense to you. The picture shows both animal and vegetarian sources of protein. There's peas, almonds, chickpea, broccoli, and there is cheese, and then there is some eggs, and some meat also. So how do you measure? Then your next question might be, but Hema, I don't have a weighing scale. I can't keep measuring how much protein I eat every day. Very simple formula is to use your hand, right? So use your hand and 1 palm size portion. So chickpeas, if you have boiled, maybe 1 palm size in one meal will give you around, again, chickpeas is not the best example. For me, the best example that I could give you is animal source here, because that has pure protein, but chickpeas may be a little larger in quantity. But a palm size portion of protein will contain, of food will contain 25 gram of protein. So like how Sarbani asked, how much protein does 100 gram chicken have? 150 gram of cooked chicken has to 25 to 30 gram, depending on if it is which cut, chicken breast versus thigh, etc., will have around 25 to 32 gram of protein, Sarbani. So that is how you measure, right? A small 100 gram 150 chicken breast cooked will be about your palm size. So a person who is like 70 gram, who needs 70 gram of protein, will have to take 3 palm size portions. So paneer, if you take paneer, low fat paneer, if you take, or tofu, if you take, you'll have to consume about 3 palm size in a day if you're eating the same thing all 3 times. Yeah, moving on. These two are something I just want to cover because this is something I've seen through my experience as a nutrition coach, is the deficiency of vitamin B12 and vitamin D that is very prevalent in vegetarians especially, and but also non-vegetarians. If you are someone who eats non-veg, but you still can have B12, but more importantly vitamin D deficiency. So we'll just talk about it in 3 steps: importance of vitamin B12, symptoms of B12 deficiency, so that you know if you're feeling those symptoms, what should you do next, and sources of vitamin B12. So what is vitamin B12 required for? A lot of things, like red blood cells. It actually forms your red blood cells, which are used to carry oxygen throughout your body, and also your DNA. So our DNA keeps forming, breaking. Obviously, there's one blueprint, but we keep replicating that and creating new DNA, and new as old DNA or old cells keep dying. Then it also is a critical player in the function and development of brain and nerve cells. That's why this is very important in child development. Pregnant women especially need a lot of B12 the development of the kid, the child's brain, but it's for you also as an adult, for your development of brain and nerve cells. Because again, all cells die, come back, die, come back, and then you have new memories, you're learning something new, pathways are formed, there's so many things that happen. So it is a very critical player here. Cognitive functioning is your ability to think, and do mind work that involves your mind. That's your cognitive functioning. Helping create and regulate DNA, we talked about. Necessary for energy production. Energy production is when your carbs, proteins, fats, everything is converted to energy. This plays an important role for that. And what are signs of B12 deficiency? This is something you need to focus on. If this is something you're experiencing, do consult a doctor, get a blood test done before taking on supplements. Vitamin B12 deficiency can actually cause fatigue, right? You're always tired, always weak. Even though you eat well, you're sleeping well, you're always tired. Then yes, then it might be that your B12 is low. Even if it is borderline, right? You might feel this tiredness all the time. Why? Because, and you can get anemic, especially women, because we tend to get have lesser iron levels already because of our cycles. So if you have B12 deficiency also, then it might lead to you being more anemic, which could cause fatigue. Headache. If you constantly have headache, it could be, it's not a sleep related issue or water related issue, you're well hydrated, then you could actually think about getting a blood test done. And gastrointestinal issues. If you constantly suffer from diarrhea, nausea, constipation, bloating, gas, and you have tried to see, okay, is food the problem? Food is not the problem because you're eating well. Then again, you might have to think about maybe it's a B12 deficiency, especially if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. Difficulty concentrating, especially for those who do a lot of work that involves using their mind, and desk jobs or IT jobs, and sitting in front of a laptop, and you find it so difficult to concentrate and complete your task, or someone who's involved in some kind of mental work, then good to get your B12 tested if your sleep is not the issue. And yeah, let's come to the food sources of vitamin B12. Plant food sources. So there is no plant food source apart from, so when I say plant food source here, I'm not involving milk. This is for vegans who don't consume dairy at all. So most of the plant sources of B12 are fortified. So they're fortified with vitamin B12. What do you mean by fortified? Vitamin B12, the chemical component of B12 is taken and added into this. So your cereals, your breakfast cereals, if you're used to eating that contains B12. Non-dairy milk, your soy milk or your almond milk, your coconut milk, your rice milk, oat milk, there's so many vegan milks. All of them are fortified with vitamin B12. And nutritional yeast, it's a very important thing to be added in your food, especially if you're a vegan, because this gives you that B12 that you need throughout the day. Animal food sources, again, milk and milk products, your cheese, your curd, and your milk, everything has your B12. Eggs, fish, and organ meats. So your normal chicken and all these does not have B12. You need to eat organ meats, like your liver, the chicken liver, etc., to actually get the B12. Eggs have so 1 cup of whole milk, not the slim milk, the actual whole milk will give you 46% of B12 that you require in a day. So if you are a vegetarian who does not consume meat, do think about adding whole milk in your daily diet. Even curd, 1 cup of curd actually gives you around 46 to 50% of your daily value of vitamin B12. So eat that curd, eat that dairy if you're not lactose intolerant, that is. If you are lactose intolerant, then there is and then you don't consume dairy, there is a chance you might, and you're also a vegetarian, there might be a chance you're B12 deficient. So it's good to get a blood test done, a vitamin profile test done, and take supplements. And how the supplements available? The supplements are available as tablets as well as injections. If you're really low in vitamin B12, you will be suggested injections. The doctor might give you suggest injections for you so that the level comes up. Otherwise, tablets are the way to go usually. And vitamin D. So vitamin D is something most of us are or will be deficient in, because we are all brown skinned, and about our brown skin is not that great in converting the sunlight into using sunlight to make vitamin D in our body. That's how vitamin D is made. Why? First thing, we're all using, at least many women or men including, they tend to use sunscreen. First thing, oh, I don't want to get tanned. So you're slathering sunscreen in your face, neck, hands, everything is covered. Or you're wearing full gloves while riding bike, or covering your face. These days, mask and one helmet. So there is no way we're getting enough sun. So sunbathing becomes extremely important. You need to get enough sun before 11 a.m. every day, at least half an hour to 1 hour, to get some amount of vitamin D that you require. But if that's not happening, because again, we live in Bangalore, if those who live in Bangalore know, it's always cloudy, it's raining half the time. So we need to think about how to get vitamin D in our daily intake. And so what are the importance of vitamin D? I mean, why do we need vitamin D? What's a big deal about it? It actually helps in the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Calcium is very, very important to keep your bones healthy. Because if you don't take enough vitamin D, if you are vitamin D deficient, you are susceptible to stress factors. What are stress factors? Say you're doing yoga one day and you see, you might, if you are vitamin D deficient, if you are doing one simple pose also, you might be wincing in pain, and it can be a stress factor. Why? Because vitamin D is deficient. So to stop that from happening, you need to have enough vitamin D in your body. Normal immune system function also. Immune system is important because we've been dealing with COVID the last 2 years. We know how important immune system is to make sure you don't catch cold, fever now and then. You don't catch any diseases, transmissible diseases easily. You need a good, healthy immune system. Vitamin D helps in that. One of the main thing that I want to talk about is the importance of vitamin D comes into the place. It decreases the risk of depression and regulating mood. You might have faced this issue. In winters, we become really low. Some people more than others. It's called seasonal depression. It doesn't happen that much in tropical countries as much as in the European countries or the US, where sun doesn't sun doesn't rise for a long time. There's not enough light throughout the day. They have very limited amount of daylight hours. So seasonal depression is something a lot of people face during COVID lockdowns. You might be like, oh, maybe it's lockdown, that's why I feel so sad and depressed and my mood is always low. No, because we were not going out at all. Yes, some people are lucky to have a balcony access or a terrace access, but not everyone was that lucky, and they weren't going out, scooped up in the house the whole time, not getting enough sun, and people were depressed, and that was because of not getting enough vitamin D. And another thing is it aids in the growth and development of bones and teeth, which we talked about. Why? Because calcium for teeth, calcium for bones. What are the signs of vitamin D deficiency? Again, tiredness, aches, and pains. Don't ignore your tiredness that is not sleep related. Maybe when 2 days you didn't sleep properly, you're tired, or you went on a hike, you're tired, that's okay. But if it's constant without you having everything else sorted, maybe there is a underlying issue. High time you visit a doctor, get a blood test done, and see if it's the cause. And then there is severe bone or muscle pain or weakness, or you have stress factors, especially in your legs, pelvis, and hips. And if you're susceptible to stress factors, then maybe you need to go and get your vitamin D tested. What are the food sources of vitamin D? So many, again, a lot of them are animal sources: salmon, sardines, herring, canned tuna, cod liver oil, beef liver, egg yolk, shrimp. all of these are animal sources, but then we come to the vegetarian sources. Regular mushrooms and those which are specially treated with ultraviolet light have vitamin D. So if you are not averse to eating mushrooms, do eat mushrooms regularly. Milk does not naturally contain vitamin D, but since people are deficient in vitamin D, especially vegetarians, it has been the regulatory body has started adding it in milk. It's called fortified vitamin D, like we saw in B12 also for non-dairy milk. Certain cereals and oatmeals are fortified. Again, you can check your ingredient list back. If it says vitamin D, a certain levels percentage for the days is met through your cereals and oatmeal, that means it's vitamin D fortified. Yogurt is again added, vitamin D is added. Orange juice also has your vitamin D added, because at least in the US, people drink orange juice on a regular basis. So it has been actually encouraged to drink more orange juice, because that was one way they could get vitamin D in their daily food intake. So one important thing is it can be hard to get enough vitamin D each day through sun exposure and food alone. So taking vitamin D supplements could help. Please consult your doctor before taking vitamin D supplements. Get a blood test done, take the report to the doctor and be like, okay, if there is a deficiency, they will suggest a supplement to you. Because vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. You shouldn't be taking it too much. It could lead to toxicity. So do not take it unless you know your vitamin D levels. Yeah, so we are at the end of our session here. How is nutrition and yoga related here, right? So yesterday we had this amazing session about Ayurveda where the Dinacharya was talked about. So here what I want to talk to you about is how can you make sure your practice is strong, you feel strong throughout your practice, especially if you're used to the intense practices that you do. How do you be strong there? How do you get your workout complete without feeling fatigued, without feeling too tired? Is go back and check your protein consumption. When your yoga practice exceeds more than 60 minutes a day, it counts as a moderately intense workout, right? Then you should actually increase your consumption of protein by say 1.1 gram to 1.2 gram per body weight in kg, because that will help you build those muscles to make you stronger in yoga, as well as make you sustain that 60-minute session without being tired. 60 minutes, 90 minutes that we, whatever is the amount of workout that you do, yoga practice that you do. And one more thing is, if you are doing your yoga practice mid-morning, like say after 10 a.m., do not go on an empty stomach, because you've been up for some time and your body has not eaten from the time you went to bed. So it's been a longer fast duration. So make sure you have a light breakfast with some healthy carbs and protein just 2 hours before your practice. You have to do it 2 hours before your practice, because yoga says, the text in yoga says that you have to eat, you can eat a light meal 2 hours before the practice, a heavy meal 4 hours before the practice. So since it's something you're starting in the morning around 10, 11, make sure you eat a light breakfast 2 hours before, so that you have that energy to sustain throughout your practice. This brings my session to a close. We'll take questions now. Yeah, over to you, Harini.
Thank you, Hema. Thank you so much. That was a very informative webinar session. And we really appreciate the time and the effort that has gone into this. And it has definitely helped us gain deeper insights. And at least for me, it has helped me remove a lot of misconceptions about nutrition. So that was really great. Thank you so much. And before moving on to the question and answer session, I have a small announcement for the participants. So Hema is offering a 10% discount for all the participants who have been a part of this webinar session. And whoever is willing to seek nutritional guidance shall avail this. And so I think now we can move on to the question and answer. And you can contact us for further details. The chat box is open. So yeah, over to you, Hema.
Thanks, Harini. So first question from Prashant: how can someone keep a balanced macro calories, etc., without being overwhelmed of tracking it? So one way to, again, make sure there's a very simple concept. It's called a half plate rule that I mostly suggest to all my clients. One second. Yeah. Follow a half plate rule. That is, half of your plate should be filled with vegetables and fruits, and the other half should be filled with your protein and your carbs. Healthy source of carbs, healthy source of proteins. This will make sure you're tracking you're getting your micros and macros throughout the day. Hope that answers your question, Prashant. And yeah, so Anita is asking, is intermittent diet good for health? So it depends on what your goals are, Anita. If intermittent fasting has been known to help in two things: weight loss by restricting your eating period, which actually helps in restricting the amount of calories you're consuming. And also the fact that a few studies have proved that the fasting duration actually helps you remain sharp and alert and helps you with your mental work. So good for health if you're able to meet your macros and your macronutrients and micronutrient limit consumption, whatever you need to eat in the eating period that you have. The 8 hours that you're eating, you need to make sure you're meeting all the requirements. Then yes, intermittent fasting is good. Benefits of fasting. Yeah, so Nishrita's question, benefits of fasting. Fasting, there are two things that at least modern science studies have shown, apart from the innumerable advantages or the benefits that the yogic texts and Ayurveda speaks about. Fasting is known to kind of reset your gut microbiome or the gut bacteria that you have, and it helps you improve your gut health. Second thing is, again, your cognitive function is studies have shown that cognitive function improves, and also it causes autophagy, which is nothing but your cells eating itself. So basically it's like a detoxing, and that's few of the benefits of fasting. Diet regulations for IBS, please. For this, you need to have a consultation with me, SR. I will not be able to, because there's an elimination diet that I help with for people with IBS or any other food intolerances. Will have to work on a very individual basis here. You can book a consultation with me. Usha ma'am, thank you, doctor. I'm not a doctor yet, but one day. Will share my address and phone number. Will share my phone number. I don't have an office yet. I have vitiligo issues. Is this because of nutrition deficiencies? Can I consult you? Is there any hope complete recovery? I am not a doctor or a medical professional, so only a medical professional can help you, Daksha. So it'll be good to consult a medical professional, a doctor, and then through them a dietitian who will be able to help you. I cannot help people with a certain medical conditions. I'm not qualified for that. So just some protein supplements. There is Fastina. There are two kinds of protein supplements here: vegan as well as plant-based, well as your whey. Whey is basically your very concentrated milk. So unless you are have any issues with digesting milk, you can take whey, but you can also take plant-based protein these days. There's Fasten Up, and personally that I use that, which is I can give you a discount code that a friend of mine has, and then you can get a discount on that. There is Univet, and there's Ozivia. So many new brands coming up, but Fasten Up and Univet is something that's been for many years, and they are pretty good. How much dry fruits can be eaten per day? So it again depends on your weight, your weight goals, your fitness goals. If you're planning to increase weight, you might have to eat a little more. So follow your healthy fats. The rule for that is the rule of thumb. You have to eat at one serving, one thumb worth of fat consumption. So that'll come up to this much of dry fruits. So that can be one serving. That's actually not dry fruits. That's actually the amount of fat you have to eat. Dry fruits has fat, so anything in moderation is fine. How to choose protein supplements? Alpa asked this question. So like I said, depends on your digestion tolerance. If you are intolerant to lactose, and you feel gassy and bloated if you drink too much milk or cheese, then whey is not the right supplement for you. You can take plant supplements, which is mostly pea plus rice protein added, which gives you the entire amino acid profile. One of the best that I have found is Fasten Up. It has really good flavors. Unimed is also good. So yeah, what kind of oils should be used while cooking? Any oil is fine as long as you start practicing low oil cooking. Any oil is fine that way. Stick to cold pressed oils. Generally, that's the recommendation, because when oils are processed with heat machineries, then there is a chance of them releasing certain fatty acids or chains that are not really healthy for us. Rice bran or olive oil, whatever is good. Flex protein is good. I'm not aware of it. Maybe I'll have a look and get back to you, Alpa. I'm not aware of the brand. How should we look at Ayurveda's approach to food compared to modern food science-based approach to nutrition? That's a tricky question here. Basically, Ayurveda is very individualistic. It talks about your doshas, while modern food talks more about what chooses your lifestyle, what have you been eating, and just to maintain that nutritional balance along with maintaining your stress, your sleep, and your exercise. I think that's the difference I find. I'm not that proficient to talk about Ayurveda's approach to food here. So hope you got the answer. Sneha, according to yoga or Ayurveda, meat is tamasic. So is all meat in general tamasic, like egg, fish? I'm not qualified to answer this question because I'm not an Ayurveda expert. Meat is a good source of protein and should be consumed with in moderation. Especially lean source of meat is what source of protein is what you should consume. Avoid red meat. Yeah, so that's the guidelines at least I stick to according to modern science. Right time to take protein supplements in a day. Any time that you want to take, Alpa. And as you said, dal is mostly carbohydrate. Which dal is protein? So, Sarbani, all dals or lentils or pulses can be seen as a carbohydrate source because they have lesser protein than the amount of, say, example, say chickpeas, 100 grams of Kabuli chana or your chole might give you 30 grams of your carbs, while it only gives you 10 grams of protein. So it is not technically a protein source, but vegetarians who have no other option can use it to get that 10 gram of protein at least. So chickpea especially is chickpea and rajma is higher in protein per 100 gram than your arhar dal or your masoor dal and all those. Other than for vitamin D, can the nutrient requirement be fulfilled just with food without taking supplements? Definitely yes, but again depends on your lifestyle and also on what kind of food preference, your food preferences. If you're a vegan versus a vegetarian versus someone who eats meat on an everyday basis, if you eat well enough, then yes, you can meet your requirements without taking supplements. Yes. How much one egg white has protein? 7 grams. 6 grams actually. With egg yolk it's 7 grams. With only egg white has 7 grams. 6 grams. But don't forget your egg yolk because that's got the vitamin D in it. Yeah, I think the questions are done. Over to you, Harini.
Yes. So thank you, Hema, for patiently answering the questions. And again, this has even made it more informative again. So to all the participants, thank you for being very patient, and you made the session more and more engaging. Thanks for that. And we'll be sharing the feedback form. So we request you to fill in the feedback form so that we can conduct more and more webinars and see on as to how to make it more engaging for more participants to join. So please do that. And thanks to one and all for joining the session.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.